My name is Persimmon Blackbridge. I live on Hornby Island. I'm mostly a sculptor. Sculpture is kind of where my heart is. So like in grade school, I wasn't one of these kids who, does perfect little Thanksgiving turkeys. I couldn't color inside the lines. Everything was messy and kind of too much. And so I never grew up thinking I was someone who could be an artist. Then when I was in my late teens, I had a breakdown and I started using my boyfriend's carving tools. And the thing was, when I was carving, everything was so much better. So I ended up doing it all the time because it was the thing that made the pain stop. Then eventually, I came out as a lesbian. I kicked out my boyfriend. I kept his carving tools, and I had to kind of go, okay, I'm making art. And so that's how I started doing sculpture. And right now I do mixed media wood construction, I call it. So it's a lot of different junk and all kinds of wood, sometimes carved, sometimes just smashed up. Whatever I want to do with it, that's what I do with it. With sculpture, you can have beautiful wood, you can have a sharp carving tool, you can have gorgeous colors, you can have broken pieces of Barbie dolls, you can have strange pieces of plastic that your sister found on the road and thought you would love. So it's not just you and your brain, it's you and your brain and these beautiful things that you can just play with and move around and go, okay, no, not you, but you later, you now, yes. When I'm working on a new piece, I'll start gathering things together and just looking at them and playing around with them, and then things start taking form and I go, okay, I really like these two together, but what else? And then I look for the piece that's that what else, and it's all very intuitive and playing around and visual and visceral. In my day-to-day life, art is really a central thing to help me feel like myself. I've continued doing it really in a disciplined way because it keeps me on an even keel. I think part of it is being engaged in this kind of wordless endeavor and thinking about things in the spatial part of my brain. I can inhabit that wordless place of beauty and exploration and fun and anger and frustration. And it's a part of myself that feels really good and also needs nurturing. It's very grounding for me. It really helps me be in the world without old, out-of-date shit getting in my way. And similarly, living somewhere that's really beautiful and where you can just go out and smell the air, where the sounds of the birds are constant, where you can see what your favorite trees are doing throughout the year. That's a similar kind of wordless, open place that helps me feel like myself a lot. When I'm in the process of creating things, there are constraints that come from being that kid who couldn't stay inside the lines in coloring books. I'm always fighting with this urge to make things nice and strategizing to let go of that and let loose of that and go further, be wilder, and really explore stuff without this pressure to keep it nice. There's all kinds of things where I feel that outward pressure to, not be myself. Because making art came out of going crazy for me, there's always been an interlocking thing between my experience as a person with disability and making art. And so it feels kind of natural that that's part of what I do. And also there's just the fucking reality of making a figure. Our bodies are stigmatized in so many different ways. Our bodies are given power and prestige or have power and prestige taken away from us, depending on just like our biological selves. But they have this social overlay of meaning that's impressed upon them from outside, and how to reflect that and how to grapple with that. That's part of what I'm doing all the time. It's part of confronting the human form and the stories that are told about us. My art has always been connected to different parts of my identity because it came out of the struggle to come out as a lesbian, and it also came out of the struggle to find myself as a woman. And so all these things that are part of how I got into art in the first place, they're all still within my art and reflected in my art and part of my art. The biggest challenge in making art for me is that thing of getting past the desire to be normal. It's just part of the process for me. It's just part of the fight that I fight, and there's no final victory over that fight as far as I can tell so far. There's just fighting it over and over again and winning the fight and then losing the fight and having to pick yourself up and fight again. That's the struggle for me, and that's part of making art. And you'd never know that I was constantly fighting with this pressure to be good and be normal and be safe. I have those ways of dealing with the in-baked fears that come from being told I should be normal. I have ways of dealing with that in my art, and, I feel all kinds of different ways. Sometimes I just feel so stuck, so like, it's not working, it's not working, it's not working. I also can use that frustration and use that self-doubt and use that negative energy as energy to propel the artwork, so I can go, oh, this is shit. It's just terrible. Oh yeah, I like that. Do that some more. Do it up there a little bit. And so I can make art that uses those feelings and propels itself on those feelings and expresses those feelings. They're useful too, and so that can be really fun, and that can be a way of getting out of the, oh, this is not working. And the bliss, of course, I love the bliss, but the frustration and the self-doubt can be a really good engine as well. I do talk back to the self-doubt because, let's face it, I've been through it a million times, so I can go, oh yeah, I've heard that one before, and what happened after that? You did some fine artwork, so yeah, tell me more. So I can kind of just step back from it and go, yeah, you're familiar, this is what always happens, and what are my strategies? One of which is just sit down with your materials and play around and try not to be so goal-oriented. And also just not taking it so seriously. I get so enraptured with lots of different pieces of odd junk. The junk lets me go on a journey with it. I can just go with the wildness of the materials. The reason why I do art, it's like such a mishmash of things, and most of those things, you know, they're not really clear-cut, rational. Well, I decided to do this because of this, and I thought this was important. It's just like what works for me, and so I just go with it. Making sculpture has always been a grounding thing for me. Since that first breakdown, I've just really used it as a way to keep myself steady and be able to engage with the world in order to keep myself on an even keel. And there's a lot of engagement in the world that it's not really good for me, but I can make art, and it's a way that I can respond to what's happening around me, and it's a way that I can give back to the communities who have supported me and kept me going. Art is big and complicated and generous. It gives so much to so many people in different ways, in the ways that we need it to at that moment. Basically, if someone came to me and said, I don't really understand this art thing, what is it for? I kind of go, yeah, it's not for you then. That's fine. I can tell you what it does for me, but, you know, it doesn't do that for you. Maybe you have something else that does it for you. Maybe the smell of spring is what does it for you. Maybe going in a car really fast is what does it for you. I don't know what does it for you, but, you know, art is what does it for me.